Happy Hawkeye holidays, everybody. Now, we said we might come back and review the full series of Hawkeye when we reviewed the first 3 episodes, and we're doing just that exclusively for our YouTube channel. Of course, don't forget to check out the main podcast, which right now is dropping every other Sunday at anchor.fm/LexiCon podcast. And of course, we're still trying to get all the back episodes up here, so a lot going on. But right now, it's all about the man with the bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And the lady with the bow and arrow.
Yeah. And the dog with the pizza.
And the girl with the prosthetic foot.
Yes.
And the big bald dude.
And the guy with the sword.
And we're going to break everybody down to their most simple description possible.
Yep. Let's go.
Seriously, we talked about the first 3 episodes on our He-Man Meets Hawkeye episode.
Yes.
Check that out at anchor.fm/LexiCon podcast and hopefully here on YouTube before too long. Now we're going to talk about the last 3 episodes in the series at large.
Yes.
I enjoyed this a lot. I think I enjoyed this. I probably enjoyed this the most out of all the Disney Plus series so far. And I'm not saying it's necessarily the best, but I just think I had the most fun with it simply because it was the most self-contained of them all. Every other one felt like we were waiting for the big twist or the connection to the larger world or who's the big villain or what does this mean for that.
Yeah.
Or you know, Falcon and Winter Soldier was a little less than that, but it also connected to the larger world and it was dealing with some weightier real-world issues. Everything else felt like it had more and more piled onto it, and Hawkeye just felt like it's just pretty much a Hawkeye series. And I know it's going to extend into other stuff. I know there's going to be the Echo series, and I know... stop before I say any more. If you haven't seen all the episodes of Hawkeye, spoilers, because I'm about to spoil some stuff. I mean, maybe not, but just in case. Spoilers. But of course, Vincent D'Onofrio returns as Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin.
Yes.
Reprising the role from the Netflix series. And so, like I say, there is some bigger stuff, and we were waiting to see if he was going to be the big bad and who the secret agent the Watch was connected to and all that. And we got most of that, even though they left some of that
open.
Open and... to be explored later on, probably. But like I said, it just felt like this was a self-contained series, and you could enjoy it for what it was. And there wasn't anything too big going on in distraction. Like, wait, what's coming next? Is it going to be this person? Is it Mephisto controlling things? How does it connect to the multiverse? Is this going to do this or do that? It's just a fun little holiday action series.
This is like the one thing not currently dealing with the multiverse.
Yeah. It was like a great update on
I guess Falcon and Winter Soldier didn't either.
Unlike an 80s buddy partner action movie, this was like a great modern update on that. And I know a lot of people want to draw comparisons to Die Hard, but of course I've already stated my opinions on that. When I saw the trailer for this initially, I was calling it Hawkeye Hard as a joke, but unlike Die Hard, this is undeniably a Christmas series.
To be fair.
And I will still argue that Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, of course, because it just takes place at Christmas time. The central theme of the movie is not Christmas, and one of the central themes of Hawkeye clearly is Christmas, with him trying to get home for Christmas.
To be fair, have you seen Die Hard?
Yes. No, I haven't. You know that. But I know it's not a Christmas movie. I know it just takes place at Christmas. I know there's some Christmas music and it's part of the background.
But
it's about terrorists taking over a building and John McClane being the rogue cop trying to, save everybody.
For Christmas.
Okay, wait. I also have not seen Die Hard, so I don't have opinions on this. But I just want to point out, you're saying you have not seen Die Hard, but you know it's not a Christmas movie. Yet you saw another movie, and you thought it was a Christmas movie. It turns out it was not a Christmas movie.
That's true. Having rewatched the classic It's a Wonderful Life, I have determined that it also is not a Christmas movie. Because even though the present part of that movie takes place at Christmas, it's really the story of George Bailey and all the lives he's touched, and it just happens to conclude or climax on Christmas. Yeah. Christmas really has nothing to do with the movie. No. Now, Scrooge, the musical adaptation of A Christmas Carol from 1970 starring Albert Finney, that's a Christmas movie. Even though it is about the redemption of Ebenezer Scrooge, it happens on Christmas. He's visited by the ghost of Christmas, so it's clearly a Christmas tale.
Yes.
Yeah. As is Hawkeye.
Plus, the original title for Scrooge.
A Christmas Carol.
Exactly.
The story that was written because Charles Dickens was out of money and needed to write something.
I recently heard that, the 15 shillings or whatever it was, was considered not a lot of money in that and whatnot. If adjusted for everything, it turns out to be more than the current minimum wage.
But that's 15 shillings a week.
Yeah, no, what I saw, broke it down, about how much are they making an hour? So
but it's not, it's not that simple either.
Yeah, I know. But just an interesting little note.
The cost of things and a lot more plays into that. It is interesting. You can see a lot of parallels with what was going on in that with modern day society. I think would be an interesting conversation for another day. But this is about Hawkeye.
This is Hawkeye.
Specifically the last 3 episodes in the series overall.
Christmas movie we watched recently.
Yeah, that I saw for the first time this year. Now, that is a Christmas movie.
It's a good movie.
Yes, it is.
It is good, but the animation is weird. Especially the eye. No, the mouths.
Yeah, you said the mouths.
The eyes
were fine. You said something about the eyes, but it's the mouths.
There's no weirdly animated mouths in Hawkeye, though. That I noticed.
I didn't notice any. They might have had to CGI something, but...
Maybe.
So, anybody got any episode-specific things they want to break down? Episode 4, 5, or 6?
No.
I don't even recall episode 4 all that much. Was that the one... That was the one where Yelena first showed up?
Yes.
Yeah, and last time we talked about this, she hadn't shown up.
Like, we gotta get the watch.
I mean, we knew Yelena was coming up in the series, but I was never excited about that because it seemed like she was going to be set up to be an antagonist, and I'd like to see her as a more heroic character.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that she doesn't think her actions are justified or whatnot, but
her character's very interesting.
even though it's not the way I wanted her to come in, we knew we were going to get her, so I was waiting for her to come in, and I was pretty much underwhelmed.
I'm sorry.
Well, I don't like the way they've handled the character. I don't like the way they she's set up to be the antagonist, but then she's going to be, kind of cool and chummy, and they even had a reference to that with Kate telling her, stop making me try to like you. And I sort of feel that same way. If she's going to be an antagonist, don't treat her that way. I mean, you can make a cool villain, but they still need to be villainous.
Yeah.
And clearly she's not a typical villain. She was hired to do a job.
She's not a villain, but she's an antagonist.
Right.
To me, it feels like she's somewhere in between for now.
She's the one to get to Hawkeye.
Like, she's
right,
just
but we know
her.
Hawkeye's a decent dude and doesn't deserve to be killed for the reason she thinks, so it makes her a villain. And I don't like the way, we're going to make her cool and she's going to have these snappy lines and she's going to be one of those sort of ironic characters, and it's just, fuck that. Plus, I got to be honest, Florence Pugh annoys me.
I know.
Somebody who's somebody who's railed against cultural appropriation, which in and of itself is not a bad thing, but for her to say that and then go make her living with an obviously put on Russian accent feels a little hypocritical to me. But I digress.
I like the character.
But again, it's not that I dislike Florence Pugh so much that I can't appreciate the character. If the character was handled better, it wouldn't bother me in the least.
Nice.
I'm just picking on her because, like I said, I don't like the way the character's been presented. They need to go all the way with her one way or the other and stop having to ride the fence, kind of.
I feel as though, but at least for now, she's still just like going about doing her. She's just somewhere in between. She's not on a side
and
yet.
For her to be so single-minded and wanting to kill Hawkeye the whole time she was in the series, and then just to right there at the end turn around and
that did feel a little off.
Well, he whistled,
and I mean they didn't have much choice since they saved it for the very end of the series.
Yeah.
I mean they could have left it a little more ambiguous, like something else could have distracted her, and they could have had some sort of reconciliation later, or they could have gone even further with the reconciliation. They could have had her over at the Bartons for Christmas too.
I was kind of expecting
which might have made it feel a little more genuine, but again, I digress.
She didn't have hours spent for Christmas.
My biggest problem with Yelena being in the series, though, is I just feel like it was too much. Early on in the series, it felt like they were padding out the episodes with the backstories being longer than they needed to be, and a little less content focused on the central plot.
Yeah.
And then by the second half, it just felt like they were throwing everything in there, and they were packing it with just too much stuff.
Three different storylines to keep up with.
There was too much going on for this series, and it was just overwhelming after a point.
I did feel like there was a lot happening in the finale.
I also feel like, and this is a minor thing, I feel like the introduction of Kingpin could have been done a little differently.
Yeah.
In episode 5, of course, she shows Hawkeye the phone, and we don't see it at first, and he's like, that's the guy I've been worried about, that's Kingpin. And then we see the picture of him.
Yeah.
I think it would have been even better if Hawkeye, if she was like, who's that with my mom? And Hawkeye's like, that's the guy I've been worried about. Cut to credits. And then we get that image of, Wilson Fisk's profile, his shoulders and his head. Yeah, well, was it a silhouette if it's not blacked out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
When we get that silhouette of Wilson Fisk over the city with Clint and Kate,
yeah,
that would have been, if that's the last thing you get from that episode, it's like, oh, there it is, but it's fine either way. I mean, it's not like it ruined anything.
Yeah.
It just would have been a little more cryptic and a little cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
then Kingpin gets his ass kicked.
Yeah, I was going to mention Maya, but go ahead if you want to talk about Kingpin.
Yeah, he gets his ass kicked.
Well, I mean, he does some ass kicking too.
Yeah.
And then he just beat up from his battle with Kate Bishop, and then Maya runs into him, and at this point Maya's realized, at least according to Clint, and it seems to be the truth, that Kingpin was behind getting Ronan the information that sent Ronan to kill her father, because Kingpin wanted her father dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, she points a gun at him, and they pan up, and you hear a fire shot. You don't see him killed.
Facts.
But that's
I doubt
definitely the
he's dead.
insinuation. Dylan doesn't think he's dead. I think it could be they just didn't want to show it because they're not going to have somebody's face get blown off in a Disney Plus series. That would be too graphic for the streaming service.
Yeah, but he's Kingpin. He can't be dead.
Well, look, I mean,
I feel as though it could go either way, technically.
these are comic book movies, and anybody can come back in the comic book. So I certainly wouldn't doubt.
You don't see a
that
body,
he
they're not dead.
might come back, but I also don't doubt that he might be dead as well. And I mean, it could just be, look, it's a way to start crossing over some of the Netflix Marvel universe into the MCU proper, and it's a nice little Easter egg to the people who are fans of that, and that may be all it is. Or it could be that he comes back and is going to have more to do, particularly in the Echo series.
Yeah.
The spin-off series for Maya that should be very interesting. I know in the comics she's connected to the Punisher too, so I wonder if he might show up. And we know Charlie
That's
Cox
cool.
is supposed to come back as Daredevil at some point.
Yeah.
And we should point out too, we haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home at this point. I've heard some people pontificating they think that Charlie Cox is going to show up as Matt Murdock playing Spider-Man's lawyer.
Yeah.
We don't know if that's true or not.
Or Peter Parker's lawyer. I
Yeah,
guess
we
technically.
can't
Right.
confirm
So
or deny
if
this.
Daredevil has already shown up in the MCU, we just don't know it at this point because
Yes.
unfortunately Sony and Disney don't give a fuck about people out here who don't think it's safe enough to go out and see movies in big crowds in the middle of a pandemic that's still far from over, unfortunately, because people don't want to get vaccinated and wear masks and do the things they need to do to mitigate the circumstances. But I digress. We've already talked about the fact that, hey, look, I'm willing to pay for it. Put it on your streaming service, and I'll pay a premium for it. And like I say, I'm sure with streaming service you have some idea where your customers are based, and you could funnel some of that money toward local movie theaters if that's your big concern. And honestly, I don't know that Sony and Disney really give a fuck about the movie theaters either, as far as that goes. They may say they do, but regardless, yeah, the point is we haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home yet. We probably won't see it for a while, and any spoilers coming out of it, we don't know if they happen to connect to Daredevil. I'm sorry, to Hawkeye, to Daredevil, Hawkeye, any of the things we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back to the Hawkeye series, though. What else do you guys have to say about it?
I was just gonna point out when we saw the Kingpin Maya scene. Of course, I think it could go either way, but I did look at you and we didn't see it because you keep saying that about Squid Game.
About what?
And now we'll get off on another tangent.
No, that was that about a character that died in Squid Game, but we didn't.
Spoilers
see the
for
body.
Squid Game.
If you haven't seen Squid Game yet,
I haven't seen Squid Game. I mean, I
do you want to see it? Exactly.
Which character are you referring to?
Okay. can we
Oh
just
my
go back
gosh,
to
the
Hawkeye?
spy! Now let's keep going.
Hey, Hawkeye's a spy, or he
Yes,
was.
yes, he is. Slash was.
He's a detective
I think he might actually.
He's an
Squid
agent.
Game. From Squid Game.
Oh, I was about to say.
I think he might be finally retiring now because the last scene, he and Kate are talking about. Well, the last scene before the post-credit scene, which we'll get to in a minute. The last scene proper, he and Kate are talking about names for her superhero persona.
Yeah.
And she runs off several less than ideal choices, and then he's like, "Hey, I got an idea," and they cut to the Hawkeye title. So I assume she's gonna maybe assume the mantle of Hawkeye going
I
forward.
think
Maybe
so
Clint's
too. I hope so.
Clint's gonna go into pretty much full-time retirement. I mean, he may come back for a special mission here or there, but I think he's really wanting to settle down and be a family man.
That means most of the original 6 Avengers are about to be done.
Yeah.
But we don't know about Bruce.
Yeah.
We'll find out more about him, I assume, in She-Hulk.
Yeah. And of course Thor's still going.
Yeah.
So
But
we've got a couple.
that part where I cut to the Hawkeye thing reminds me, I haven't actually seen the series, but there's a series called Invincible with super and stuff, and the title screen, the title always appears wow, that guy looks invincible. Something like that.
Yeah, that's sort of a trope that people have played with before in entertainment. It's not completely original. but-
Yeah.
Going back to episode 4, can you talk about the parallel that happened with Clint and Kate? When she goes off the side of the building?
When Yelena put the rope on?
Yeah.
How is that a parallel with her and Clint?
Well,
a bit like with Clint and
parallel,
Natasha.
yeah.
Kind of.
Parallels the Endgame moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. Endgame.
Yeah.
I always have to stop and think, what happened in which movie?
Right.
Endgame.
I just say the wrong title half the time because I was prepared for it to be just Infinity War Part 1 and 2. And
Yeah.
I often forget that it's
Endgame is good.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a nice moment.
It was.
And then, of course, I do think some of the backstories they showed in this were too long and could have been pared down a bit, but I'm not saying you don't have any need at all for the backstories. And I thought the Yelena backstory with her blip experience, I
Yeah.
thought that was neat and well done.
Same.
Again, I'm not sure it necessarily belonged here.
That I
because
don't
just
know,
felt
but it was
like
neat to
It felt
see.
like, outside of the focus of the main series, but it was a neat scene.
Yeah.
It was neatly done, although it's slightly different from some of the other blip experiences. Like, it was just instantaneous for her there and back.
Yeah.
You know, the other... In Endgame, the people took their time to fade away, and it didn't seem like Monica Rambeau's was... I know it may have felt instantaneous to her, but it seemed like hers took a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And again, we're talking seconds longer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not necessarily saying days or anything, but it was a neat scene, the way she was on a mission in 2018. She goes in the bathroom to splash some water on her face, she dusts and comes right back, and everything's changed.
Yeah.
And again, some of that could just be creative license too. They're not saying that's exactly how it happened, but that's pretty much how it felt. You know, it could have still taken a little bit longer in actuality to have played out within that reality. But that's when she, you know, finds out her sister's dead and the blip has happened, and she ends up spinning off and becoming an assassin for hire, I guess, which...
Again.
We're still finding out... We didn't really find out any more about that group at all, about Val and their possible connections to Thaddeus Ross or whoever else.
True.
We know apparently Kingpin has a connection enough to them to hire her.
Yeah.
You know, from Kate's mom going to Wilson Fisk, who goes to Val, goes to her, but still we don't know exactly.
We know there's a connection,
are.
but that's it.
Connections.
I did like... I guess this is more of an... was there anything else we need to really break down about episode 5?
I don't know if it was episode 5. I had something I was... okay. What I was going to mention is not episode 5.
Episode 4, of course, at the end of it, Hawkeye dismisses Kate, says, you know, a Black Widow assassin has been hired, it's too real, I'm not going to let you get hurt, we're done. And then by episode 5, she helps Clint in his tete-a-tete with Maya, and they end up, reforging the partnership. That was a pretty cool fight between Maya and Clint when Clint takes everybody else out in the auto shop parking lot. And then they have their one-on-one, and, he's got her down, and then she takes the sword, and I don't think she was really going to get him, but Kate does shoot the sword out of her hand. And at least help him out.
Yeah.
And that's when he plants the seeds with Maya that, your family may not be on your side like you think they are. And, of course, that leads to the showdown between her and Kazi in episode 6.
Yes. And, of course, they're going after Kingpin.
And, of course, I talked about how I realized that, not Hawkeye, but Falcon and Winter Soldier, I felt like it was oddly paced for a TV show, and that's because it was really more like a 6-hour movie that just had to be broken up in episodes. And I felt like Hawkeye was that to a large degree. Like I say, I think there was a lot of extra early on, and then they crammed too much in later on. So maybe it's more like a pair of movies where they had a certain story they needed to tell.
Yeah.
They left too much room in the early movie, and the second one they had to cram too much in. But especially that last episode felt like it was the second half of a movie, especially starting off with the montage of them making the new arrows.
Yeah.
That was neat, and we got to see both really cool. Pym arrowheads and Stark arrowheads.
Yeah.
So that's another neat connection.
Yeah, he has a bunch of those.
The finale was great.
Yeah, I love the fact that, I love the fact that Jack turned out not to be a villain whatsoever.
Yes. He was awesome.
Because they clearly were setting him up to be a villain early on, or as a red herring, like he's definitely going to be connected to the bad guys. And I even said earlier, it'd be really cool if he turns out not to be the villain, and it's maybe Kate's mom instead, which is exactly how it turned out to be. She's sort of a gray. She is a villain, but she has her own reasons. It's not out of malice or any sort of intent to try to hurt people, but she feels like she's doing what she has to do. I get all that, but all I'm saying is still, for all intents and purposes, and for the focus of Hawkeye, it turned out she was definitely a villain.
Yes.
And Jack was not at all, and he got to have some cool moments with his sword play. So that's something early on. It's like,
Jack was a guy who likes swords.
We established that he's a master swendsman, and he's semi-based on a character from the comics who was a master swordsman who was a mentor for Hawkeye.
Yes.
But it was neat to see him get his little moment. I like that. I like when when you play with expectations, and, you think the series is going to deliver one thing, but then they swerve you. And
yeah, that was really
so
cool.
I enjoyed that, and it was nice to see Hawkeye's LARPing buddies come back. I mean, I told you early on that Grills was definitely going to play a bigger part, and he certainly did.
The way they came back in the finale, though.
Yeah, they were a little bit they weren't the jesters exactly. They played a role and actually had something to do and were valuable, but they got to be a little bit of comic relief too, coming out in their LARPing outfits. And
yeah.
When the leader of the LARPers, the one who made the costumes, whacked the one tracksuit mafia guy with the bat, that was pretty badass. But they got to actually fulfill their roles as first responders. So that's a neat
and they talked to Jack about laughing.
Yeah.
Jack the Lost Book.
There's a lot of stuff left open here.
Yes.
That we could, if we get a Hawkeye season 2, or if whatever they spin Kate Bishop into, whether it's Young Avengers or something else.
I hope it's Young Avengers.
It's Young Avengers.
We could definitely.
But
Okay, but just because she's going to be a part of whatever Young Avengers content they make doesn't mean there couldn't be
there's probably
there
going to
could be a
stuff
season
in
2 of
between.
Hawkeye that just focuses on her, with Clint basically being at
Yeah.
the farm and just coming back for a little bit here or there.
Based on my things, I'm sure there's going to be some in between content between now and whenever they do Young Avengers.
But they're definitely setting up for Young Avengers.
But of course, the best moment of not of this episode, but the whole series, is when Hawkeye ends up in the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree and there's an owl in there. I was like, owl, there's an owl! It's Chekhov's owl. He wasn't just there for nothing. He actually came back.
Yes, you did.
We'll get to that in
owl
just a
was an
second.
adventure.
Or maybe we'll get to it right now. Does anybody else have anything they need to say before we get into that?
No, I don't.
Because that's another connection.
The owl was the most important thing.
I was thinking about the Pym Tech and the Stark Tech too, because at one point Kate uses obviously one of the Pym Tech arrows to shrink the tracksuit bros. They're driving their truck toward Hawkeye and Kate, and they're crashing into him, and she shrinks the truck and it becomes the size of like a Hot Wheels car.
Yeah.
And she asks Hawkeye, well, what happens now? And he says, I don't know. I have to ask Scott about that, referencing Scott Lang, a.k.a. Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And then the owl comes back and swoops up and grabs him and is like, well. So
that's taken care of.
So the owl is officially an adventure now.
Yes.
So those guys still alive? Are they living
I'm
the
assuming
life?
the owl ate them.
I mean, as long as the owl can get them out of the
Disney says,
vehicle.
2 tiny tracksuit mafia guys.
Honey,
The
I shrunk
first
the
episode.
mobsters.
First 1 or 2 episodes is just them trying to get it from the owl.
That would be hilarious. I wish somebody had the time and money to make that. Just
Yes.
for the fuck up. Even if it's not canon, it would just be fun.
Yes.
Just to reimagine. What if?
I just need action
Exactly.
figures.
What if season 2.5?
To get some action figures, I'll make it.
I'm just saying
with my
they
phone
could make a Hot Wheels of that. Just saying.
There was a nice moment too. It had to be in episode 6, right, when Hawkeye says to Kate, "You're my partner."
Yeah, that was episode 6.
After they'd had
that was really sweet.
after they'd had the break off, and then of course he ends up bringing her home for Christmas,
Yeah, and the dog.
and the family accepts her and doesn't see her as an interloper or anything, so everything's all good. And Clint returns the watch to his wife, as I guessed it was going to be her watch, and she was the agent. And
Yep.
we have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on the back of the watch, and the number 19, setting her up to be Agent 19, aka Mockingbird,
Yes.
who's connected to Hawkeye in the comics as well.
Yes.
I don't know what this does for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if it recanonizes it or if it just recontextualizes it and gives us a sort of version of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Well, you know, that's one of those sort of left-hanging things. They didn't go into any detail about it. He gave her the watch back, she flipped it over, we're done.
Yeah, it feels like it could be
So
an
there's
attempt
certainly
to
an
possibly
opportunity
connect it.
for
But
more
between
to come.
that and the dark hold, it also feels like they're just saying, screw you, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I'm afraid of that, but it does give them the opportunity to sort of bring it back in,
Yeah.
just reconceive it a little bit. You know, they want to get some of that Inhuman stink off of it.
I've also been hearing people with the theory that that's another universe.
You never know.
Facts.
I'm sure as we speak, Spider-Man No Way
I mean,
Home is
infinite universes.
opening that up.
Everything's
Yeah.
a universe.
Facts.
There's a universe where the cats are Avengers. The Avengers are cats, not the cats are Avengers.
I mean, probably both.
Every cat is an Avenger.
Wait, in the universe where the Avengers are cats, is Goose still a cat?
No, he's a human.
That was the important question there.
Well, Goose was never a cat. He's a Flurkin.
I know, but he has
He
the
looks like a
appearance
human,
of
though.
cat.
And he still eats the tails.
What?
He
Has
has
the appearance of that. I
yeah.
said it had the parents of a cat. I'm like,
Yo.
so a Flurkin is a cat who's hatched from a chicken's egg under a toad. One of those things.
And he still eats the Tessa.
All right. So have we covered the Hawkeye series well enough that we can get into the post-credit scene now?
I believe so.
So we got oh, I will say too, I like a lot of my favorite Christmas music was featured in this
Yeah.
series, which again just
There's a lot
boosts
of
that.
Christmas music
I
in
know
this.
Christmas in Hollis was in it. Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas was in it. Christmas Time from Charlie Brown's
Yeah.
Christmas by I'll screw up the name, Vince Guaraldi Trio, I think it is, but with the children's choir singing it.
Yes.
But there's probably Christmas music in Die Hard too.
Oh, and one other thing, Christmas in Hollis is in Die Hard, not 2, but the first one. Just because there's Christmas music in something doesn't make it a Christmas movie. I just said it bolsters the fact that this was a Christmas series, which you haven't denied since we've seen the first couple episodes.
What are you talking about?
Facts.
Final
Wait.
episode is only called So This Is Christmas.
Yeah, and I'm disappointed they didn't use that song.
I was about to ask, what's the appropriate song in the
Where
finale?
was Happy Xmas War is Over? That would have almost
Best
completed.
Christmas song, in
That would have
my
almost
opinion.
completed my my group of favorite Christmas songs. We would have only been missing
That's my favorite
Christmas by
Christmas
Blues
song.
Traveler and Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
But we got a lot of good Christmas music.
Yes, we did.
One thing we did get, though, and we didn't talk about it, we should have when we talked about the first episode, is that bullshit Ronin sword. That fucking switchblade sword, there's no way that blade is fitting in that handle. There's no physical possibility in this universe that blade could retract into that handle that way and fit.
Speaking of
we see that it has Pym and Stark Tech.
I just want to say that I like his bow.
That would be the only way that it would work, is if it's Pym Tech where the blade actually shrinks and doesn't just retract. But it sure looks like it's just retracted. Well, Stark Tech doesn't have shrinky stuff.
They're nanobots.
It ain't nanobots. We've seen the way the nanotechnology works with the suits. The sword would
it can work different for sword.
There's no way, because it looks like the whole blade is going down. So where are they going in the time?
It can retract, and then the nanobots split off at the bottom.
I understand, but once you've got half the blade in there, where's the rest of the blade going? There would have to be a momentary pause or something. That blade, there's no way in our universe that blade could possibly work.
Split as it goes down.
I say it could be a combination of Pym and Stark Tech, technically.
I think it's just bullshit. It's a badass looking sword, but it's bullshit.
He also has a cool bow.
I wonder whatever happened to the sword, though. He took it back from Jack, and he burned the Ronin costume, but I expect him to, give Kate the sword or something at the end. I guess he's saving that for a rainy day.
He gave a gift to Jack.
Yeah, he sent it to Jack.
That would have been
Christmas.
a neat little scene, too. Jack's having a lonely Christmas by himself. Now his fiance's in jail, and Kate's off
looks over where the sword used to be.
Oof.
Yeah.
Poor Jack. He's at the Lockwoods.
Who's this from? That would have been pretty badass.
He's having Christmas with the Lockwoods and then opens up and gets that. Yeah.
Okay, post-credit scene, though. We get our credits. We get Happy Holidays from, what was it, from Marvel?
I think so.
That's what it said. I was kind of expecting some sort of post-credit scene in this.
Yeah.
Some little coda or something to set up something going forward, but instead we literally got, a whole number from Rogers the Musical.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, the number
that you saw a little bit about...
In episode 1, we got the full thing.
We got the full performance. Some of those lyrics were a little questionable. Like, the garbage is sky high, and so is the rent. And they talk about the stink of New York.
Yeah.
There were definitely some tongue-in-cheek lyrics there. We got to see the full performance.
I loved it, though.
I guess it makes sense. I guess they were going to show a piece of it. They had to stage at least one number.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man was still there.
Yeah. I do wonder, do you guys know the director? They cut to him a couple times. Was that somebody? Was that Kenny Ortega or somebody?
I don't know.
Because they made a point to show him several times, so I figured it must be a cameo from somebody.
Yeah.
I know the lead actor from that performance, at least of the civilians before the Avengers. I know he was in Rent.
Nice.
He's a Broadway actor.
Yeah. I personally don't know. I'm just not that familiar with people well enough.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't recognize them either by seeing them, so I thought maybe you had just read something about it.
No, not yet. Though now...
Trying to avoid spoilers for Spider-Man, I guess.
Though now seeing that they were able to give us one whole number, I expect the entire musical now.
The entire thing, please.
It's thank you, Disney. Thank you for that little bit. Thank you, Marvel. But we'll take the whole thing now.
It wouldn't shock me, but I also don't know that Marvel really wants to do that. They might feel like it's cheapening their brand.
I mean, maybe, but at the same time, I feel like...
on Disney Plus.
I feel like Marvel also does
they need more
a lot of
musicals
things for fans.
They have Hamilton on Disney Plus. They need more musicals.
They do.
I've Lin-Manuel Miranda write it.
Lin-Manuel Miranda writes the rest of the Rogers.
Lin-Manuel Miranda as Steve Rogers.
No. I mean, they could literally use who they've got in the show right there. And then whoever else they need to fill the roles.
I could do this all day. It's a good song.
They'd have to cast a lot of more people. Because that's got to be the story of Steve Rogers in its entirety.
Cover,
they've got to go all the way back to World War II. Yeah.
Well, wouldn't have to cover it all. They could pick and choose a certain section depending on what they want.
It would definitely have to cover it.
Based on being called Rogers, I feel as though it is very much Hamilton style.
No, I'm sure it would be his story, but they could still cover the parts that they choose to cover.
Did they go to Steve Rogers himself for that? Because man, they go to Steve Rogers. So who was at the Valley? Mary J. Yeah. He's an old man Steve. He's a forgotten some.
I do find it so interesting that Ant-Man is there. Who in this world decided to put Ant-Man there, and why?
Multiple things. Either these are assumed he was there. He can shrink. They went to Scott Lang himself. He said he was there, just because old man Steve forgot.
But my thing is, it's only 2024 in this series? Maybe 2025? Yeah, so it's 2024. It's only been 12 years?
I mean, can you prove Ant-Man wasn't there?
It's only been 12
from
years.
From the view of a civilian. Can you prove that wasn't a tiny man?
I mean,
when there were giant exploding aliens.
Technically, no. But I'm just saying, all the news coverage and people in New York, etc., etc., I feel as though 12 years is not long enough to mess up a detail like that.
But
that feels as though it's just one of the decisions you make, like, let's change this, like when things movify things.
But they don't
They
know
just decided,
that he
let's
wasn't
add
there.
Ant-Man, and it's like, Ant-Man's not supposed to be there.
It's just like in Hamilton, he changed things that were true to fit the narrative. So that's all it is. I don't think it's intentional.
I just want to know who made that decision.
It's not meant to be depicted as a mistake. It was just a choice they made, because he's a well-known Avenger, so they wanted to include him.
I think Scott Lang just claiming he was there would be hilarious. Like, I was there.
I did comment on that.
Oh yeah, that would be cute. There should be a little moment of that in Ant-Man 3, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Quantum Mania.
Yeah.
Like, that's totally there.
Totally. Best friends with the Avengers, you know?
Yeah. Best friend Steve. That's the only reason he was there. He claims he's best friend with Steve. To the people writing the musical. Like, best friend Steve, I was there.
So if they do the full story, like the full Steve Rogers story.
Ant-Man will be in every song.
We'd get Peggy Carter. We'd get Bucky Barnes. / the Winter Soldier. We'd get the current Captain America. He just wouldn't be Captain America.
Man, they'd have to do like one song per movie to get all that in.
Well, if it's a full musical, they could do a song per movie.
I know, but even that is like, how many songs normally in a musical?
I mean, technically, it depends on the musical, I'm pretty sure.
How many songs on Hamilton?
I don't know.
Apparently, the conductor is the guy named Mark Shaman, who actually has composed music and songs for a number of Broadway productions. Apparently, most of the cast for Roger the Musical are Broadway vets.
Nice.
So,
They've
a
got
Broadway
experience.
fan might have recognized some of them. But cool nonetheless.
They've got plenty of experience to do a full show now.
Alright, so anything else we need to say about Hawkeye?
No.
Alright, y'all want to give it a rating? Not just the last 3 episodes, but the series at all. I said I wouldn't rate it until we saw the whole series. I've seen the whole series, so I'm ready to rate it.
Sure.
Alright, Dylan, you want to go first?
8.5.
8.5. Yeah, I'll go solid 8, mainly because I don't remember what I gave the other shows.
If I was going to put a number on it, I would have agreed with Dylan, but I'm going to rate it a big holiday meal out of 10.
Yes.
There's a lot of dishes there, a lot of stuff going on, and you're probably going to end up with way too much on your plate, but at the end of the day, it's going to hit the spot, and hey, it's the holidays, y'all.
Yeah.
Alright, so thanks for checking out this edition of LexiCon on YouTube. I guess we don't really have a name for these yet.
No.
But please subscribe here and check us out at anchor.fm/Lexicon Podcast for the full-length episodes. Right now they're dropping every other Sunday. The next one is going to be on Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Woo!
And
best movie ever.
It's semi-sequel, We Can Be Heroes.
Worst movie ever.
Because some people think I was a little hard on the former during our live episode. So we're going to see how I feel after actually seeing the movie for the first time.
Yes.
Alright, so make sure you check us out then when the conversation will continue. But until then, I will continue to be Maddie.
Lexi.
Dylan.
And this is LexiCon concluded.
Bye.